It's the 3rd of March 2025. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news tonight for the Newsfirst team, I am Jaimal Ratnayaka.
And I am Hashni Patrana. First up is a look at your headlines for tonight.
Parliament gets a list of fuel sheds owned by politicians. Will doctors' allowances be reduced? Doctors prepare for Wednesday strike. No reduction in allowances, says Minister Nalinda. Nomination dates set for local government polls. Adrian Brody and Mikey Madison claim top individual honours at the 2025 Oscars. Anora wins Best Picture.
In our top story for tonight, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Arun Hemachandra revealed a list of petrol stations allegedly allocated to opposition politicians or their close associates based on political connections during a parliamentary session today.
මට දැන් ලැබුණා ලේඛනයක් මේකත් මම සභාගත කරන්නම් විපක්ෂයට අදාළ දැන් වත්මන් සහ හිටපු മന്ത്രിවරුන්ගේ දේශපාලන සම්බන්ධ තියන අයගේ මේ ලේඛනය පටන් ගන්නේ විශේෂයෙන් ගත්තොත් එහෙම හැම පළාතකම තියෙනවා විශේෂයෙන් මේ ලේඛනය පටන් ගන්නේ
I have received a document which I will now present to the House. This document lists the current and former members of Parliament with political connections to these petrol stations. The list includes names from every province. Notably, it starts with High Tech Carbon Private Limited, which has political ties to Chandrika Bandaranayaka Kumaratunga, Prasanna Ranatunga, Vernon Gunaratne, former MP Kumara Belgama, and MP Harshana Rajakaruna. It also includes the name of the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's PSO, the sons of Piyasena Gamage, and the brother of Gamini Senarat. Additionally, the brother of MP Gayantha Karunatilaka is listed. This report highlights the extensive political influence over these allocations. In my district, many political authorities are connected to these allocations. For example, Akila Viraj Karyavasam and the former chairperson of our provincial council are included. Furthermore, the sister of former Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi and Nilani Dharmadasa are also mentioned. There is also a connection to Ranjit Madhuba Bandara. Given these revelations, it is understandable that the opposition is in turmoil today. We know that when issues arise in their businesses, they tend to react strongly. However, as a government, we will not be swayed by these connections. We will continue to move forward with our agenda, maintaining our commitment to the people. We have been working diligently over the past 4 months and will continue to do so.
අපි මේ සම්බන්ධව සැලෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ඉස්සරහට අපේ ගමන අරන් යනවා. අපිට තියෙන සම්මුතිය ජනතාවත් එක්ක තියෙන සම්මුතිය. ඒ සම්මුතිය ඉතාමත් හොඳ ආකාරයෙන් අපි කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා. මේ මාස 4ක් තුල
The Deputy Minister disclosed that over 40 petrol stations are linked to current and former opposition politicians and their associates. In the Western Province, 7 petrol stations are identified as being connected to former President Chandrika Bandaranayaka Kumaratunga, Prasanna Ranatunga, Kumara Belgama, Harshana Rajakaruna, former Kadwila Mayor and candidate Vernon Gunaratne and their associates. In the Southern Province, the list includes the personal security officer of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the sons of former Minister Piyasena Gamage, the brother of former Presidential Secretary Gamini Senarat, a former chairman of the Hambantota Pradeshia Sabha, and the brother of MP Gayantha Karunatilaka, as well as the former Chief Minister of the Southern Province, H.G. Sirisena. In the Eastern Province, 4 petrol stations are linked to political connections. In the Northern Province, petrol stations are linked to political connections including former MP Charles Nimalanathan and the brother of MP Kader Mastan. In the North Central Province, petrol stations are owned by the brother of former Minister Duminda Disanayaka, the brother of MP Kins Nelson, the brother of former MP Lal Darmapriya, and the wife of Chandima Gamage. In the Northwestern Province, the list includes the brothers and mother of former Minister Indika Bandaranayaka and former Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam. In the Central Province, a petrol station is operated in partnership with former Provincial Councillor TCU Ilaperuma. In the Uber Province, the list reveals a connection to Ranjit Madhuba Bandara. In the Samaragama Province, 2 petrol stations are owned by the sister of former Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi. The Criminal Investigations Department has launched an investigation into attempts to disrupt the fuel distribution. This action follows a complaint received regarding the matter. According to Sri Lanka police, a group claiming to be fuel distribution agents is allegedly attempting to disrupt the fuel distribution process. The complaint adds that this group is reportedly doing so to create difficulties for the government and cause inconvenience to the public, stemming from a dispute over a discount provided during fuel distribution. Additionally, the Citizens Power Against Corruption, Fraud and Waste organization has filed a complaint with the CID today regarding this issue.
Upon investigating the matter, it was found that during the previous government's tenure, a sum of 37 billion rupees belonging to the public was illegally distributed among 1,400 distributors. This country's public funds cannot be used for illegal gains. Therefore, we have lodged a complaint with the CID today. Approximately 80% of the filling stations are linked to former ministers, businessmen and their associates. We need to investigate whether this is a conspiracy against the current people's government or if it is genuinely an issue of business operations being hindered by the government. Furthermore, the decision to distribute 38 billion rupees of public tax money to 1,400 businessmen must be legally addressed against the former cabinet and the officials who managed these decisions.
MP Chamara Sampath Dasanayake stated in Parliament that the profits should be given to the petroleum distributors.
There is a petrol station near Nelumpokuna. The price per perch in front is 20 million rupees. The petrol station in front of Nelumpokuna has 40 perches valued at 80 million rupees. A businessman who invested 1 million rupees is now sitting on a property worth 80 million rupees. He might sell it and move to Australia or Dubai. Another petrol station in Bandaragama with 45 perches is valued at 22.5 million rupees. No one does business to make just a million or 1.5 million rupees in profit. The government needs to take a step back where necessary.
සමහර නාලිකා දෙකක විතරක් තෙල් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේම සමහර විපක්ෂ മന്ത്രിවරුන්නුත් හිතුවා තෙල් තිබුණේ නැහැ කියලා. හැබැයි පෝලිං
Only 2 channels reported a shortage of fuel. Some opposition MPs also thought there was no fuel. However, the queues were not due to a shortage of fuel, but because of unnecessary panic created in society. We have discussed this background extensively in this house. We remain open to discussions with the relevant parties. We have been informed that there will be a discussion on the 28th.
තවමත් අපි අමතක කරන්නේ මේ 28 වෙනිදාත් සාකච්ඡාවක් තියෙනවා කියලා අපි දැනගන්න ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. මේක කෝප් කමිටුවේදී ගත්ත තීන්දුවක්. ඔය ෆෝමියුලා එකේ ඔය නඩුවේ අතර සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ. කෝප් කමිටුවේ තීන්දුවක් ගන්නවා මොකද මේ තෙල් වල තිබුණ අප කැප් එක. මේ 100ට
This was a decision made by COPE. There is no connection between the formula and the case. COPE decided to recover the 37 billion rupees that were overpaid. The association then went to the district court and the appeal court's decision came on the 8th of September. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara recommended recovering the amount. We have never protected any petrol station or minister's petrol station for political reasons.
කිසිම ෂෙඩ් එකක්වත් ඒ වගේම ඔය කියන අමාත්‍යවරුන්ගේ ෂෙඩ්වත් කාවත් ආරක්ෂා කරන්න දේශපාලනය වෙනුවෙන් අපි අමාත්‍යංශ කළා නැහැ.
බුදුමාලා පොඩ්ඩක් මේක ව්‍යාපාරික කෝණයෙන් බලන්න.
You need to look at this from a business perspective. We are not saying whether the 3% is correct or not. You need to calculate and discuss it. However, there is a serious issue. Some of the land where these petrol stations are located is worth 30 to 40 million rupees per perch. There is a court decision, but you need to recover the 30 billion rupees properly. Why haven't you recovered the losses from the past 2 years? Writing letters to the CID will not solve this problem.
CID එකට ලියුම් ගාලා මේ ප්‍රශ්න විසඳන්න බෑ.
එතකොට ෂෙඩ් එකේ ලාභය වෙනුවෙන් ෂෙඩ් හිමිකවරුන්ගේ ලාභය වෙනුවෙන් මේ අනීතිකව ලබා ගන්න කෝප් ඒගොල්ලොම කියනවා.
The profits from these petrol stations, which have been deemed illegal by both the COPE and the courts, are unethical and immoral. How many opposition MPs have spoken about this in the past few days? The public needs to understand that the government is the only entity standing up for them. The opposition MPs are clearly not standing up for the people.
අපිටත් හොඳටම පේනවා මං හිතන්නේ මහ ජනතාවටත් හොඳටම ඒක පේනවා.
The Petroleum Distributors Association delivered a letter to the President's office.
ජනතුමාට මේ සංදේශය බාර දෙන්න. බාර දීලා අපි එතුමාගෙන් ලොකු විශ්වාසයක් තියෙනවා. කියන්නේ මේ රජයට සෑහෙන වැඩ කරපු අර ඉන්න සහායක දුන්නේ අය
The group then proceeded towards the presidential secretariat, which was under heavy police security.
අපි කමන්න නැහැ නේද ගෙට්ටු කවට ගියාට උදේට යන්න තියෙන යන්න දෙන දරන විතර කියන්න දෙන්න ඉච්චරයි දෙන්නේ ඔව් එතෙන්ද මම අපේ ජනාධිපති ලේකම්තුමාට එන්න කියන්න මේ අපේ මූලික අරමුණ තමයි ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපිට මේකට ඉන්වෝල් වුණාද නැද්ද කියන එක තාම දැනගන්න ලැබුණේ නැහැ. අපි මේක දුන්නාම ජනාධිපතිතුමා දැනගන්නේ අපේ කරුණ මොකද්ද කියන එක හරි ඒක යාගේ යුතුයකමක් නේ.
An official from the presidential secretariat arrived and accepted the letter.
දැන් අනිත් සමාගම් අපි සාකච්ඡා කරා සයිනෝපෙක් සමාගමත් IOC සමාගමත් මේ වෙනකොට අපිට ලිඛිතව නෙවෙයි වාචිකව කියලා තියෙනවා මේක අපිට දෙන්න සූදානම් වැඩ පටන් ගන්න කියලා. මේ විවරක් ගන්නද කොහොමද ඔබතුමාලා ජනාධිපතිතුමා දැනුවත් කරනවා. ජනාධිපතිතුමා දැනුවත් කරන එක තමයි තියෙන්නේ කරන්න. අපිත් කවමදාකවත් කැමති නැහැ මේ.
We never want to cause trouble for the citizens or the government. We are a group of business people running this association without any political affiliations. We are in this situation because we cannot continue our operations. We hope the president will listen to us and appoint a committee to provide us with justice.
කල්ටෙල් බෙදුම් කරුවන් වෙනුවෙන්
මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ඇමතිවරු මැති ඇමතිවරුන්ට බයිනවා. මැති ඇමතිවරුන්ගේ ෂෙඩ් තියනවා කිය අපි මේ මැති ඇමති
Ministers in this government are accusing other ministers of having petrol stations. We are not the ones who bribed ministers to get petrol stations. If ministers have misused state funds to set up petrol stations, those stations should be taken over by the government. The actions of a few MPs should not affect the 1,500 petrol station owners in this country. In our area, Kuliapitiya, ministers have set up petrol stations by cancelling permits that were supposed to go to deserving individuals. There is a 2/3 majority government, so investigate this.
තුනෙන් දෙක බලයක් තියාගෙන ඒවා හොයන්න.
What is the stance of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation?
එයාලා හිතන් හිටියා මේක ජනාධිපතිතුමා වෙනම රජයේ වෙනම ඇමතිවරයා වෙනම.
They thought this was a separate operation being run by the president, a separate one by the government, another one by the minister, and another by myself as chairman. It is understandable that they might think that way, especially since that is how things were handled in the past. But the reality is they are trying to recover money they received illegally. Now, based on the information we've gathered, there's growing suspicion that there might be more going on here, possibly even a conspiracy. Other companies have come into Sri Lanka and there are concerns that they might be pretending to work with us while secretly pursuing their own agendas. It is clear that the situation got out of hand because of some divisive statements made by a few people. We suspect that this could be linked to those actions. That being said, I believe even if they send letters to the president, we as the government and the CPC are united in our stance. We are ready to face any conspiracy that may arise. As for the current fuel situation, we have already received the required amounts and distribution has started. The only issue is the extra fuel used by people who panicked. But even with that additional demand, our filling stations have received enough fuel. There is no reason for a fuel shortage in the country. Unless a small group continues to cause disruptions, we don't foresee any major problems.
කීප දෙනෙක් කරන දේවල් ටිකක් මිස නැතුව වෙන කිසිම ගැටලුවක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
The local government election Sri Lanka 2025.
The Election Commission has scheduled the submission of nominations for the local government elections from the 17th of March to the noon on the 20th of March. Nominations for the local government election will be accepted from the 17th of March till the 19th of March between 8:30 a.m. and 4:15 p.m. and on the 20th of March until 12 noon at the offices of the returning officers and district secretaries. The official announcement of the election date for local government institutions will be made during the nomination acceptance meeting on the 20th of March after 12 noon. The Election Commission announced that the acceptance of deposits for the local government elections commenced today.
Nominations will be accepted for 336 Pradeshya Sabhas, excluding Kalmude Municipal Council, Deyattakandya Pradeshya Sabha, Mana Pradeshya Sabha, Punakari Pradeshya Sabha and the Alpitia Pradeshya Sabha. Nominations will also be accepted for 28 municipal councils, 36 urban councils and 272 Pradeshya Sabhas. Deposits and nominations will be accepted at the offices of returning officers and district secretaries. According to the announcement issued today, the number of candidates, including youth and female candidates for each Pradeshya Sabha or municipal council, must be specified in the nomination papers. Independent groups must deposit 5,000 rupees per candidate, while political parties must deposit 1,500 rupees per candidate.
The local government election Sri Lanka 2025.
The country is preparing for local government elections after nearly 5 years. Although the Election Commission initially scheduled the local government elections for the 9th of March 2023, it had to be postponed. A second date was set for the 25th of April 2023, but the elections did not take place then either. The previous government made over 30 attempts to delay the local government elections. As a result, more than 131 million rupees spent by the Election Commission on election-related activities went to waste. The estimated cost for holding the local government elections in 2023 was 9,326 million rupees. Due to the failure to hold the elections, the administration of 336 local government institutions, except for the Alpitia Pradeshya Sabha in the Galle district, is currently under special commissioners instead of elected representatives. The power of 28 municipal councils has been transferred to municipal commissioners, while 36 urban councils and 272 Pradeshya Sabhas are under the control of their respective secretaries. In April last year, nominations were called to elect 8,711 members for 340 local government institutions, with 80,672 candidates submitting nominations. Among them were approximately 3,000 public servants. The Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government reports that around 8,000 of these candidates have either migrated or passed away. Additionally, over 2,000 candidates have switched parties. Following recent legislative amendments in Parliament, these nominations and deposits were invalidated. As a result, the Election Commission has been empowered to call for new nominations and set a date for the elections.
We know that this election was initially scheduled for March 2022. However, the subject minister postponed it for a year. Subsequently, the Election Commission took all necessary steps to hold the election in March 2023, but the then administrative authorities made significant efforts to delay and prevent the election. The Election Commission has now announced the election. We believe that once the nominations are finalized, the Election Commission will consider all practical aspects and announce the election date. PAFREL believes that the election date will likely be before the Vesak festival.
The United Republic Front, led by former Minister Partli Champika Ranawaka, is preparing to contest the upcoming elections independently.
No,
we will not form any alliances in this election. We are a new party and need a grassroots network. We aim to present a professional team capable of driving powerful development projects in the country.
Our political party is ready for the elections. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has announced that the selection of candidates will begin tomorrow.
At this point, we are preparing to present candidates for all 341 local government institutions across the 24 districts of Sri Lanka, including the northern and eastern provinces. To this end, we will commence interviews for nominations tomorrow. I believe a large number of applications have already been received and inquiries have been made.
Meanwhile, leader of the National Unity Alliance, Azad Saleh, says that the National Unity Alliance has decided to contest independently.
When discussing local government elections, we often consider forming alliances. However, this time, we have once again decided to contest all municipal and local council elections as the National Unity Alliance.
The United National Party held a press conference today at their office in Colombo Central.
We have been observing and remaining silent for some time, but we can no longer stay silent. We are prepared to face this challenge with our young team in a very strategic manner. We want to remind everyone that the UNP, along with other capable young individuals, is ready to respond to this government effectively.
News First with the people.
Tokyo Super, ඕන වැඩකට super. With trendy fashion collections bringing style to Vallavatta. Opening from March 12th at number 42A Gold Road, Vallavatta. Ready for you.
Zuzi Clothing Store.
In the heart of Anamadua, lives are changing. For years, patients travelled miles for life-saving treatments, but not anymore. Gammatha renovated a building to establish a dialysis unit at the Anamadua Base Hospital and constructed another building to house a medical-grade water purification system. Gammatha, for the people, by the people.
Welcome back to the news. The Government Medical Officers Association, also known as the GMOA, is preparing for a strike the day after tomorrow. They state that this action is being taken due to the reduction of additional duty allowances and holiday pay.
The Executive Committee of the GMOA held a meeting today.
වෛද්‍යවරුන්ගේ කප්පාදු කරපු 81 අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම නැවත වරක් ඒ එක්ස්ට්‍රා ඩියුටි දීමනාව නැවත ලබා දෙන්න ඕන PH එක 20 එක කියන එක නැවත වරක් ලබා දෙන්න ඕන මේක තිවිච්ච දෙයක් නැති කරලා තියෙන්නේ කිසිම රජයකින් කිසිම ආයතනයකින් කප්පාදු නොකරපු දෙයක් මේ රජයෙන් කප්පාදු කරලා තියෙනවා වෛද්‍යවරුන්ට හිමි 81 වූ අතිකාල දීම අමතර රාජකාරී දීමනාව.
The overtime allowance and the additional duty allowance must be reinstated. Similarly, the holiday allowance must be reinstated. The additional duty allowance for doctors is not an overtime allowance. As executive grade doctors, they are entitled to this additional duty allowance. By the 5th of March, the government and the president must reverse these decisions.
ඔබට කාලය තියෙනවා මාර්තු මාසේ 5 වෙනිදා උදෑසන වෙන විට ඔබගේ ඒ ගත්තු තීන්දුව තියෙන ආපසු හරවන්න වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Health says he expects government medical officers to act patiently until salaries for the month of April are received.
The increment on the basic salary will be given in portions. One will be given in April this year, another in January 2026 and one more in 2027 January. Their allowances will be calculated from what their basic salary will be in 2027 January, but they will be added from 2025 April. So, the extra duty allowance, OT, PH allowance, days pay and every other allowance will be calculated based on the basic salary they will receive in January 2027. A significant salary hike has been provided. We have considered all aspects when adjusting salaries. I hope the government medical officers are aware of the country's economic situation. They have an understanding to develop the country. We expect them to stay patient until their salaries for the month of April are received.
The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights urges the new Sri Lanka government to lift unnecessary regulation and restrictions on civil society and independent media to revive the civic space.
In his inaugural address to Parliament, President Kumara Dissanayake acknowledged the harms that have resulted from decades of ethnic divisions and racism. He pledged to address some long-standing human rights concerns, including by tackling corruption and ensuring accountability for the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks and other emblematic cases. These commitments to end impunity should extend to the large-scale violations that occurred during the civil war and prior insurgencies. These crimes must be thoroughly investigated, justice served to victims, and perpetrators held accountable. The new government has taken an initial step to appoint an expert panel to establish an independent prosecutor's office. The government is taking steps to amend problematic legislation, such as the Oppressive Prevention of Terrorism Act and the Online Safety Act. All new laws must comply with Sri Lanka's international human rights obligations and be developed in a transparent, consultative and inclusive manner. Our office continues to receive reports of surveillance and intimidation by security agents in the north and east, highlighting the need for more fundamental security sector reforms. We urge the new government to lift unnecessary regulation and restriction on civil society and independent media to revive the civic space. This is an important opportunity in Sri Lanka's history that must now translate into meaningful progress on accountability and human rights to heal societal divisions and break the cycle of impunity that has for so long racked Sri Lanka's past. Our office is ready to support Sri Lanka and hopes it can report tangible results to this Council in September.
The government has prioritized economic growth, which is inclusive, where all citizens have enhanced economic opportunities. The rule of law, transparency, accountability and reconciliation will prevail in order to ensure sustained economic growth and social well-being of the people. National ownership with gradual reforms is the only practical way forward to transformative change. We regret the continuing inconsistent application of human rights principles through the work of the Council that has resulted in the erosion of trust in the human rights architecture, making countries less likely to respect the noble purposes for which the Human Rights Council was created. Sri Lanka has consistently spoken out against country-specific resolutions that do not have the concurrence of the country concerned. We have reiterated our rejection of resolutions 46/1, 51/1 and 57/1 and the external evidence gathering mechanism on Sri Lanka that has been set up using these divisive and intrusive resolutions. The external evidence gathering mechanism on Sri Lanka contradicts the Council's founding principles of impartiality, objectivity and non-selectivity. No sovereign country can accept the superimposition of an external mechanism that runs contrary to its constitution and which prejudges the commitment of its domestic legal processes. Serious concerns have been raised by a number of countries on the budgetary implications of this external mechanism. Sri Lanka is determined to deal with human rights challenges through domestic processes. Sri Lanka reiterates its commitment to multilateral cooperation in pursuit of peace, prosperity and sustainability, along with the promotion and protection of all human rights.
The suspect arrested by the CID yesterday in connection with the abduction and assault of journalist Keith Noya in 2008 was ordered to be released on 2 sureties worth 500,000 rupees each. The order was issued by Mount Lavinia Additional Magistrate Hemali Halpandeniya today. The suspect released on bail in this case is Indika Lalit Jayaratna, a retired soldier who served in the Army Intelligence Unit. During the court hearing, the additional magistrate questioned CID officers as to why the suspect was not arrested in 2019 based on the instructions of the Attorney General. The officer stated that the delay in the arrest was due to the main witness stating in court that their testimony had been forcibly recorded by the Criminal Investigation Department. This led to an investigation by the Colombo Crime Division which hindered the arrest of the suspects. The CID informed the court that the 3 suspects who had not been arrested up until that point were taken into custody following the Attorney General's instructions issued on January 17, 2025. Consequently, the additional magistrate also imposed travel bans on the 3 suspects who were arrested and presented to courts thus far. On the 22nd of May 2008, journalist Keith Noya was abducted and assaulted in Dehiwala, and the suspects, including former Army Intelligence Chief Amal Karunasekara and Major RDMW Bulatwatha, who were arrested by the CID, are among 10 suspects who are currently released on bail. The case is scheduled to be called up again on the 13th of October.
Real Kahata, the latest offering by A.F. Jones Tea, was launched in Colombo today.
The official launch of Real Kahata, the latest product by A.F. Jones Tea, was unveiled today together with ICL brands, further extending the product lineup of the brand. The event was held under the leadership of Group Director and Group CEO of the Capital Maharaja Group, Suresh Sirinivasan. Several figures representing the leadership of ICL brands and A.F. Jones Tea were also in attendance. With the launch of Real Kahata, A.F. Jones Tea takes a bold step forward in reinforcing Sri Lanka's tea heritage while embracing innovation.
Every day, millions face the impossible. What happens when clean water feels out of reach? When an entire village is left helpless? When it seemed like no one is listening, Gammatha saw the need. Gammatha took action and a community fought back. A water purification system for a village that once had none. Gammatha, for the people, by the people.
UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has announced a 4-point plan to work with Ukraine to end the war and defend the country from Russia.
UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said the UK, France and other countries will step up their efforts in a coalition of the willing and seek to involve the US in their support for Ukraine, after calling a summit of 18 leaders, mostly from Europe and including Volodymyr Zelensky, 3 days earlier. Speaking at a news conference shortly after the meeting of leaders, Starmer said 4 points had been agreed.
First, we will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table. Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capability to deter any future invasion. Fourth, we will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace.
Starmer also announced an additional £1.6 billion of UK export finance to buy more than 5,000 air defence missiles. This comes on top of a £2.2 billion loan to provide more military aid to Ukraine, backed by profits from frozen Russian assets. It comes 2 days after a fiery exchange between the Ukrainian leader and US President Donald Trump in the White House. Countries at the summit included France, Poland, Sweden, Turkey, Norway, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands, Romania, Finland, Italy, Spain and Canada. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that there was now an urgent need to rearm Europe. Malaysia's former Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob has been named a suspect in an ongoing corruption probe involving 700 million ringgit in government funds and will be called in for questioning on Wednesday. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission said its investigation is focused on government publicity expenditure and procurement during the premiership of Ismail Sabri, who served as premier from August 2021 to November 2022. Anti-graft investigators questioned Ismail Sabri in January last year as part of a probe into possible misconduct involving some 700 million ringgit or $157 million spent on government government publicity during his administration. In a statement, the anti-graft agency said Ismail Sabri formally submitted a wealth declaration to authorities on the 10th of February after being ordered to do so. The agency said it had recorded a statement from the former premier on the 19th of February, adding that he could be called back for further questioning. Authorities have also detained 4 senior officials who served under Ismail Sabri and conducted raids at 4 premises.
The 97th Annual Academy Awards, also known as the Oscars, concluded with a near sweep for the indie darling Anora, which won 5 of the 6 categories it was nominated in.
The Oscars brought Hollywood's brightest stars together for an unforgettable evening of glitz, glamour and celebration of cinematic excellence. We'll leave you tonight with highlights of the event on Happy Headlines.
Good night.
Happy Headlines.
Please welcome.
The 97th edition of the Academy Awards has concluded, celebrating excellence in both artistic and technical aspects of filmmaking. Hosted annually by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, this year's ceremony honored outstanding achievements across 23 categories. The stars of Wicked, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo opened the Oscars with a spirited tribute to the cinematic versions of Oz, culminating in a rendition in Defying Gravity from their nominated film.
The Oscar goes to Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody won his second Best Actor Oscar as the actor took home the coveted prize for his performance in Brady Corbet's The Brutalist.
Anora, Sean Baker!
The evening also saw Anora, the 2024 hit film, take home several major awards. Directed by Sean Baker, the film won Best Picture and Best Director, with its lead actress Mikey Madison claiming the Oscar for Best Actress.
And the Oscar goes to Kieran Culkin.
Succession star Kieran Culkin was named Best Supporting Actor, a category he has dominated throughout award season. Zoe Saldana was named Best Supporting Actress for her performance in Spanish-language musical Emilia Perez.